Hey guys, how the hell are you? Welcome to another infrequently asked questions video. This is number 14 in this series, and I really enjoy this series. Thank you guys always for posting those burning questions in the comments section. Let's just get right on into it. First question. Hey Arnold, just curious, what's your take on more modern bands with the HM2 sound? I.e. End, Trap Them, Cult Leader, All Pigs Must Die, Gate Creeper. Also thoughts on Kurt Ballou and Converge. Okay, first of all, with regards to the second question, I think Kurt Ballou is a fantastic producer and engineer. I think Converge is a good band, not something that grabs me all the time, even though they've made some arguably very iconic records. As far as the bands that you're mentioning and their usage of the HM2, I think it's really cool that new bands are still embracing it as their sound. I think that it's still really awesome that there's still a bunch of bands that are flying the old school death metal flag and want to incorporate this as their tone. And I also think that it's very cool that we've got some metalcore, hardcore, some kind of dissonant stuff that keeps coming out of the woodwork that is also still wanting to make good use of the HM2 sound. Also, it's worth mentioning that a lot of bands are still using an HM2 kind of as a layer in their tone as well. You're hearing a lot of bands that are doing like multi-tracked guitars, and there just happens to be an HM2 kind of buried a little bit in the mix just to kind of bring those frequencies out a little bit. So start, paying attention to stuff like Finnish death metal bands. Even that last Aborted record had a bit of that underneath. It's definitely there, and it's really cool to hear it being used in that sort of way. Appreciate the honesty about how the hell you're doing. Updates are always a relief, as sappy as that might sound. Also, got an iFAQ. What are your thoughts on alcoholic energy drinks and such? Love the vids, stay metal. So, first of all, thank you so much. I like doing these updates, just as kind of a means to keep myself busy and keep myself occupied. So I'm happy that you're gleaning some sort of value from that, especially as far as, myself goes and my well-being goes, so I appreciate that. So as far as alcoholic energy drinks, I'll be honest, man, I would just prefer to keep that separate. I understand that a lot of people do dig them, but to me, like, the one time that I've had a Four Loko, I was like, this is kind of bad. Like, I didn't really care for it so much. And, I would just much rather have my energy drinks in the morning, and when I feel up for it, just have the occasional beer here or there. Do you like old school Brazilian black metal like Sarcophago and Mystifier? So, harkening back to the last video, there were some omissions that a few of you guys have pointed out in some messages that I've received and also in some comments. Although I listed a bunch of bands that I really liked, a lot of guys commented that I forgot to mention Sarcophago. I do like Sarcophago, but it's not one of my favorite Brazilian metal bands. It's one of those things that I dig, I like listening to it when it comes on like my shuffle or whatever, but is definitely not one of my favorites. And the same goes for Mystifier. With Mystifier, I think that, it's something awesome about how much their heart is just in the metal that they create, but as far as the metal that they create, it just doesn't quite grab me on that same sort of level as a lot of other killer black metal bands do. So it's not to say that it's bad, it's just not something that I'm going to reach for. You know what I mean? Hey dude, what could you recommend to get that really chunky nu metal tone? Guitar choice, pickups, etc., and amps. So honestly, that kind of obvious choice for an amp would be something like a Mesa dual rec or triple rec, or something that is voiced rather similar. Something like a PV Triple X is going to get you there. But stuff that has a really big low-end presence, is super saturated and maybe not even necessarily the most articulate sounding amp. Just articulate enough is going to be fine for you. EMG pickups is going to work great. Otherwise, something that is, passive but still high output, and maybe something that's a little bit more, what's the word I want to use here? Something that's more kind of benchmark, like a Seymour Duncan JB is also going to do it for you. But, it's one of those things where pretty much a lot of the tone that you're getting from the guitar itself is going to get overpowered by that heaping wall of low-end oomph and distortion that you're getting from the amp itself. Also, something that has a good cutting mid-range is also awesome for that sound too, which is why so many of those guys used the Mesas back in the days, because they have a big boomy low end and they have a big mid-range too. So, but yeah, that's what I would recommend. Just go with something like that. If you can't outright afford a triple rec or dual rec, even on the used market, look for something similar that does the same job. Favorite Dio record? Also, did you see the Priestess Solar? 25.5 inch scale. So yes, I did see the Priestess Solar, and that is literally the fucking Solar that I've been waiting for this whole time. I am super excited, and that is definitely a model that is in the cards for me. So I just need to build up a little bit of scratch so I can get one. But man, that is literally the perfect guitar from Ola's company that I've been waiting for. So, and what's even better is that it also still has some cool aesthetic appointments to it too, like that little ramp that's up and down the middle of it. I thought that's a really cool touch, but like, dude, an E-type with a 25.5 inch scale and a Floyd, and it still has the Duncan Solars, I'm fucking sold, dude. I'm all about it. Now, as far as my favorite Dio record, I like Holy Diver a lot because there's so many great classic songs off of that, but, I gotta be honest with you, like, Dio's solo stuff, although it's good, although it's great even, it's not something that has ever been better than Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath, for me anyways. Like, I love Dio's output, his solo stuff, I love the stuff that he did with Rainbow, God, I love the stuff he did with Rainbow. But fucking Heaven and Hell is just such an amazing, mind-blowing fucking record to me that can't be topped. I apologize. What's up, Arnold? Just want to ask you, how can I improve my lead guitar playing? I always find myself playing the same scales, same positions, and same licks. You definitely want to take a look at YouTube University and see about like checking out some old instructional videos back when instructional videos were a serious thing that you would see all the time. All the George Lynch stuff, the Yngwie stuff, the Paul Gilbert stuff, the Vinnie Moore stuff, etc. There's tons of it out there on YouTube ready for you to check out. But one of the things that I would definitely recommend, and I wish I had a better discipline of this myself, learn cover songs and learn them note for note, including the solos. Because every single time that I've felt myself overcome a hurdle with my lead playing has been when I've kind of developed a few more licks and tricks from actually learning a solo all the way through. I don't do it often enough, and as a result, I'm not that great of a lead player, but that to me has always been something that has been the catalyst for me, like all of a sudden, okay, I'm improving now again. I've kind of overcome a rut, has been learning an actual song and learning an actual solo. Hey Arnold, what are your preferences with regards to guitar bridges, and have you tried an Evertune bridge? With regards to bridges, I just want something that is stable. I don't necessarily have too much of a preference for a Tune-o-matic, a Floyd Rose, a Hip Shot, anything like that, or like the various licensed equivalents. I just want something that is rock solid. I definitely have preferences amongst the various different types, like for Floyd's, I can go either way on either a low pro edge or a fucking original Floyd Rose tremolo. I think they're both awesome. For Tune-o-matic style stuff, I definitely prefer the actual Tune-o-matic style stuff, but Honestly, they're all kind of really good, and I don't have a preference for stop tail versus string through. I see the benefits of them both. Hip shot, I really like every hip shot bridge that I've checked out across the spectrum. But to answer your question about the Evertune bridge, Evertune at this point I'm kind of on the fence about, because when it's working properly, I love an Evertune bridge because it holds its goddamn tuning, and it's awesome to just pick the thing up and okay, now I'm fucking playing a song. I don't need to worry about tuning it up. It's just fucking right there, ready for me to go. But I've had a few problems with getting one set up the way that I like, and with sort of like breaking apart here or there. So to me, the jury's a little bit out on Evertune, and I honestly don't know if I would ever get another guitar with an Evertune on it, but you never know. Time might tell differently. You know, I might all of a sudden fix this one that's on the Solar that I've got and be like, oh, okay, now this is the perfect fucking bridge. But as it stands right now, not the case. Would you ever consider doing a segment each week in iFAQ where you recommend either some albums you love or new stuff you love? You know, that's a hell of an idea, because a lot of you guys miss the Album of the Week segment that I used to do, which is kind of interesting because no one ever really watched them when I did them. But a lot of you guys have voiced your opinion that you really wish I would bring that segment back, and while I'm not necessarily prepared to just start deep diving into new releases all the time, maybe that can be something that I do here in the iFAQ videos, where I give you guys an album recommendation or something. So, you know what? Let's just start this week. I recently became privy to a band called Sinistral King and their album Serpent Uncoiling. And to me, this is the album to beat for Album of the Year. It is so fucking good. Blackened death metal, more leaning towards the blackened part, that has, you know, just a bunch of really cool elements. I love the vocal performance. That dude is like kind of channeling Mikael Åkerfeldt a little bit, and in the fact that it's like super brutal, super evil, super throaty, and yet like he's trying to enunciate everything that's coming out. I love the guitar tone, I love the mix of the whole thing, I love the fact that the drums are just so fucking unrelenting. I love how there's these bombastic parts that come out of nowhere, where they're just kind of vamping on the toms a little bit, kind of like something you would hear out of some of the best Behemoth songs. I mean, this record is just really good. There's not a bad song on the whole thing. It's catchy in the right sort of way for this genre. I would definitely recommend you check out this record, because I had my mind fucking blown, and this is probably going to be my album of the year. It's going to be really tough to beat it. And finally, it's this week's Troll of the Week, which this one I just found kind of amusing. I don't even necessarily know if he was being serious or not, or if he was joking, but either way, I kind of agree. So, Fred Flange writes, guitar players, they should all be killed. I kind of agree with you, man. Take a look at various internet forums and Facebook groups, and you see some total human fucking garbage rear their ugly faces in those forums. It's like everyone just kind of jumps up and says, hey, I'm an asshole too! Let me share my opinion with you. This is why I think fuck everything else but a Gibson Les Paul. This is why I think, hey, fuck 8-string guitars. You should just play a piano. I'm so fucking funny. So anyways, thank you guys so very much for tuning in. This was kind of a cool rapid fire almost infrequently asked questions video. I rather enjoyed it. You know, hopefully the next video I can kind of keep this energy going a little bit. But, you know, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, please drop a comment in the comment section below. Let me know if you've got a question that's burning a hole in your brain that you would love for me to answer in one of these videos. As always, click the like button, click the subscribe button. There's lots more metal guitar-oriented content to come. And remember, especially if you're in a fucking guitar forum on the internet or a Facebook guitar group, remember to not take yourself too seriously. Just take what you do seriously.